Now, he's running for a state house position here in Washington State. He's a former council member from Mukilteo. His name is Riaz Khan. And he told police that he was fixing some campaign signs along Mukilteo Speedway when two white dudes came up behind him, swore at him, hit him in the back several times with the wooden stakes that you use to affix to a campaign sign so you can get it in the dirt. Now, the Everett Herald said Khan had a hammer at the time because he was working on the signs, and he told them that when the bad guys saw the hammer, they backed away and then left. That's when he called police. He told the Linwood Times that the two individuals said something or things that are pretty, I can't say them on the radio. I say them off air all the time, especially towards you.
I was going to say they're directed at me usually.
Yeah. But he said, this is what he says, one or both of them said at some point. You effing foreigners, you come to America, you son of a, you bleeping Trump supporter. So he calls this a hate crime. I believe it was with the Linwood Times in which he said, this hate crime has no place in our city. Nothing should happen like this. Now, this apparently happened 2 a.m. on Tuesday. You might be asking, 2 a.m.? Huh? You're fixing signs at 2 a.m. on a what?
He had insomnia, you know.
Well, actually, what he said was, according to the Linwood Times, there had been a bunch of people or someone was pulling down his signs, his lawn signs, campaign signs, and he would go out every single night just around the areas where he has the majority of his signs to see if someone had damaged them. And we've seen this happen, obviously not just this cycle, but we've seen this happen for a while. And this is why he was out there at 2 a.m. on Tuesday. I vow to always be totally honest and upfront with my takes on stories. And I want to be consistent. Is that a reasonable thing to expect of me as a talk show host?
Yeah.
Just be consistent. And if you're sometimes inconsistent, explain why you're being inconsistent here. Maybe it's not really a consistency issue. Okay. If this story, the way it's been told to me, if this story substituted out a Republican candidate for a liberal candidate, and instead of saying you bleeping Trump supporter, it said you bleeping Harris supporter, I would say, carefully, I am suspicious of the claims. Thus, being honest, I am suspicious of these claims. I do not know why necessarily I am suspicious. And I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I'm merely suspicious. And one, I think, becomes suspicious because we've seen a number of high-profile issues of either fibbing a little bit or making it all up. We've seen that happen. We've seen hate crime hoaxes. And we've certainly seen hate crime hoaxes that at least appear to be driven by some sort of political position or to someone's benefit. And while I'm not saying I'm convinced this is some Jussie Smollett incident, I will note the time of day this happened, I suppose, but something about the story seems off. Something about the story seems too on the nose. And that was my take when I read it. That was my take when I paid attention to some of the details and went back and reread and then saw the Linwood Times story and read a much deeper article. Something seems off. The police are looking into this. They're asking if anyone has any information to come forward. For me, part of the issue was, and I think maybe this is what pushed me over, in the Linwood Times, and you should check it out on their website, they have a photo of him. He pulls his shirt up so you can see, the damage done on his back. You could barely see what it looks like a red mark, but almost like it could have just been you sat down funny and you were laying back funny, or you got a sunburn. It did not look significant. Now, that doesn't mean it didn't happen, doesn't mean he wasn't really injured. I have no reason to dismiss this, but it feels wrong. Am I crazy?
Well, yeah, but not for this reason.
Not for this. So you saw the same details I did. You heard the same details that I heard. And everyone out there can weigh in. 1-800-465-8770. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. What was your initial reaction to this?
It made me think of the Jussie Smollett thing.
Why?
Time of day, similar types of claims made as far
Very
as
specific rhetoric.
Yeah, the stuff that was yelled at him, just in the reverse though.
Yeah. It doesn't, and maybe that's not fair because of Jussie Smollett. And I acknowledge this because of the hate crime hoaxes we've experienced, including Jussie Smollett. I now look at these stories differently. I immediately think, okay, wait. You said what just happened? Now I need you, and this is not fair to put on someone who's a victim, but now I look at these kinds of stories and say, I need you to prove this to me, or at least convince me enough that you address some of my internal red flags that go up. Is it fair of me? No, I totally acknowledge that. It is not fair. And as I said, I'm not saying he's not an actual victim. I think obviously the police should investigate. They should assume everything he says is 100% correct. And then they just need to find out whoever did this. But if it turns out not to be true, there better come some consequences. I don't care that he's a Republican. Honestly, I don't care. I hope this didn't happen. Part of me hopes it's a hate crime hoax almost because I don't want these kinds of things to happen. But if it did, I'll certainly report it to you. If they make an arrest, for example, I'll happily report it to you, and I'll out the people who are responsible. And then I'll tell you that it was actually Jackson was the one who was questioning whether or not this was true, like any good faith talk show host would do. So I'm just saying. What?
Always blame it on your producer.
You act like you're shocked by that.